What exactly happened in Britain this weekend? Because based on footage I've seen, it feels like the start of the summer riots all over again. In Bristol, UKIP and Nick Tanconi were having a protest, and guess who showed up? Antifa. So naturally the whole thing just turned really violent. And then at the same time in London, Paul Golding and Britain First were having a remigration march. Except the whole thing was just hijacked by a bunch of literal neo-Nazis. And when I say that term, I'm not using it like the left do and just throwing it around aimlessly. I mean it. That's just what they are. Let's start with Bristol, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts. Now, as I mentioned, UKIP and Nick Tanconi were holding a protest, and then Antifa showed up. But it wasn't long before the police were holding the Antifa crowd back using police dogs.
I said, out of the way. Move back, please. Move back. Move back. Move back for me, please. Move back for me, please. Just for your own safety checks, all right?
When that didn't work, the police gave the order. Get in there and effing start hitting people. Now, it's hard to tell if it was actually the police giving that order or if it was just a civilian in the crowd shouting it. But to me, it certainly looked like it was the police. And if it was, good on them. It's about time they started taking some tougher action against these left-wing Antifa thugs who just seem to get away with absolutely everything. You know for a fact, if those guys were draped in St. George's flags, the police would have absolutely no problem applying the full force of the law. However, I cannot be too complimentary about the police in this circumstance because there was another event which took place. One guy was pushed over by 10 masked up, balaclavaed Antifa thugs, and what did the police do? Well, they pushed him over again. Take a look at this. Now, I would say that was probably not the police's finest moment. The guy's just been pushed to the ground. He's clearly a bit of an older guy. He could have a concussion. In fact, when he gets up, he's sort of wandering around aimlessly. So I would immediately be thinking concussion from that first fall. And then the police just shove him to the ground again. That's not really what they should be doing. They should be asking him if he's okay, if he needs any help. But they didn't do any of that. Look, my advice in these situations is pretty simple. Just ignore them, just avoid them, do everything you can to avoid them. Obviously, if you have to defend yourself, then you have to defend yourself. But other than that, leave the police to deal with it. The reason why these guys are so prone to anger and violence is because we are winning the argument. The whole country is moving to our position, particularly on things like immigration. And that's why they're so frustrated. So just do not engage with it. All you're doing is giving them ammunition to try and discredit you. Okay, look, I'm going to put you out of your misery because at this point you've got to be wondering where on earth I am. And this is Zeljava Air Base. It's in Croatia. It's an abandoned military base that you can effectively just wander around and look at all of the old crumbling buildings in the forest. It's very, very cool. A word of caution, if you do come here, stick to these sort of tarmac tracks between the buildings. I met 3 Croatian guys just a few minutes ago, and they were telling me, look, there probably aren't any landmines and you probably are going to be safe. But, you know, this was a military base in the middle of a war and a lot of landmines were scattered around this area. Often they can move when it rains and this area is quite hilly, so they can shift quite far. In reality, most of those mines have gone because they've been cleared by the government or, unfortunately, animals have stepped on them and detonated them. But, you know, better safe than sorry. It's not really a risk I want to take for a YouTube video, stepping on a landmine. I actually accidentally walked into a minefield in Bosnia about 6 or 7 months ago, and it's not a very nice feeling when you get there. So yeah, very cool place. Strongly recommend you come and check it out. There's some really cool tunnels that go deep into the mountains. And I don't know if I'm going to go in them today and show you, but if you are curious about seeing them, it's in my last video on Croatia, and you'll see them. The tunnels are absolutely enormous. They just keep going and going and going for miles. And I guess the idea was build tunnels into the mountains because then they're basically bomb-proof. You can't bomb through a mountain. You can't blow up a mountain with anything other than, I guess, a nuclear bomb. So yeah, really, really cool place, and we'll keep exploring and I'll keep talking. Now on to the second part of this story, because whilst that was happening in Bristol, Britain First were holding a remigration rally in London. Fair enough, I support remigration. But unfortunately, it was hijacked, and it was hijacked by a group of neo-Nazis. I'm just going to play the clip. Their leader seems to have been giving a speech, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
It's time the white man stands up and takes this country back. socialist government. No more reform, no more conservative, no more Labour. We need national socialism for the people, by the people. No more globalism, no more death. White man, stand up and take your country back. Train, connect with your local white man. Fight back, train, get ready.
So as you heard in that clip, the guy stands there with his megaphone and says, we don't want reform, we don't want Labour, we don't want the Tories. Britain needs a national socialist government. And a lot of people cheer. And I have to wonder if those people in the Britain First crowd really know what they're cheering for. Because National Socialism is Nazism. The full name of the Nazi party is actually the National Socialist German Workers' Party. So when I call this guy a neo-Nazi, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not doing the thing that the left does and just calling everyone they don't like a Nazi. He would probably agree with me that he is in fact a Nazi. And so I come back to that question. Do the people in the Britain First crowd really know what they're cheering on? Take a look at this. It's an old coach or an old troop carrying vehicle that someone's turned on its side and had the wheels off it. Pretty cool. Now look, I've seen a lot of people online talking about this speech and this guy just saying that he's a Fed, that he's an undercover police officer. And I have no idea if that's true. The idea is you have someone come along, say all these kinds of things, and they're basically trying to entrap other people into saying some even worse things, and then they go to prison, or they get monitored, they get put on a police watch list. I don't know if this guy is a Fed, but what I will say is when you're talking about genuine extremist groups, and I'm not talking about what the Hope Not Hate calls an extremist group, because they probably call the Conservative Party an extremist group. That's not what I'm saying here. When we're looking at genuine extremist groups, I would just assume that MI5 and the counter-terror police have a very deep interest in those groups. They probably do have undercover officers in there. They're probably monitoring all the traffic back and forth. Just don't join those groups. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to anyway, but if you are that way minded, first of all, you probably don't really belong on this channel. But second of all, don't join the goddamn group. That's all I'll say. You're an adult. You do what you want to do. Okay? Take a look at this. I found a massive workshop, a massive hangar. So my Remy viewers, of which I'm pretty sure there's only one, and it's Stephen, are going to be very happy to see this place, even if it's been repurposed for logs. It's still standing, it's still here. Think of all the vehicles you could fix here, only for them to break 10 miles down the road. Anyway, about this second clip, the National Socialist guy, I'll just say the same thing I said in the first instance, the Bristol protests. Do not engage with it, okay? All you're doing is discrediting whatever cause you're there protesting for by cheering and agreeing with this guy. Before you know it, you're on the front page of the BBC as a neo-Nazi, which is probably not what you want and probably not what you thought you were doing when you were cheering and clapping along. And you just end up in a world of pain. The cause that you went there to protest or march for or whatever gets completely discredited. It doesn't do us any favours at a time when we are genuinely winning the British people over. So let's just avoid doing that. And look, I know some people are going to say, well, I thought you were all about free speech. How can you be saying this? I am all about free speech. I believe that guy should be allowed to stand there with his megaphone shouting whatever he wants. But it doesn't mean you have to listen. It doesn't mean you have to include him in your march or your protest. It doesn't mean you have to clap along. You can just get rid of that guy. Paul Golding, I don't know what the situation was, by the way, I wasn't there, but Paul Golding, the leader of that protest, if he caught wind of that, should have been telling those guys to go away. Should have been asking the police to keep them away from the main protest because, it's going to discredit them. That's just my 2 cents. Yes, I'm a free speech maximalist. He can say whatever he wants to say, but that doesn't mean you have to listen. Doesn't mean you have to support it. So there we go. Cool place. Look, that's pretty much it for the politics. Let me know what you guys think. I will go and show you the tunnels, or at least I'll show you the entrance to the tunnels. I don't think I'll go inside. If you really want to see what's inside them, you'll have to go and watch my other video, and that's not me just plugging another random video that I've made. I don't really want to go back inside them. Very easy to get lost. You need a very, very powerful torch, and it's just spore galore in there. It's like something out of The Last of Us, and I don't particularly want to do that to my lungs again. Also, it's a really touristy place, really, really touristy, and given the nature of today's video, I didn't really want to be discussing that in front of a whole bunch of tourists. So that's why I came to the slightly less popular village, or it's like the Croatian Chernobyl, I guess. That's how they should advertise it. You'd get loads of people coming. So behind me, I don't know how well you can see it, but that is one of the entrances to the tunnels in the mountains, and there's loads and loads of these entrances, and there's loads of tunnels. In fact, there's tunnels all the way from the top of the mountain coming all the way down, and there's like some military outposts and installations on the top of the hills. It's very, very cool. I did go exploring in that other video, so if you want to go and watch that, by all means, go ahead and do it. I will take a quick look inside just to show you. But look, there's not that much in there. You know, everything's been cleared out either by the military or by thieves. So really what you're looking at are just tunnels, and it's very, very easy to get lost. Like I said, it's a lot of spores. It's not very easy to breathe in there. It's not very nice. It's definitely not very healthy. Anyway, let's at least go and have a look at the entrance. Pretty grim. I don't know what all that stuff on the wall is. Probably all asbestos and nasty stuff. Yeah. As I mentioned, I did walk all through these tunnels before, but I don't really want to do it again. So there we go. Anyway, I'll leave a link to that other video if you want to go and watch it. These aren't the only tunnels I went in. Actually, these are probably the less interesting tunnels. There's some tunnels near Zagreb, and it was an old sort of World War II dictator's house. I went into those tunnels under where he lived, kind of like escape tunnels, I guess. And that was very, very cool. Actually, that was a little bit scary because I felt like they could collapse at any moment. But if you want to check that video out, I'll put the link in the description. If you're just interested in the politics and stuff like this bores you, don't worry about it. Don't go and check it out. Right, till the next one. So someone has spray painted Antifa on the wall and you literally just can't get away from them no matter where you go in the world. But yeah, really cool. Cool place. I would recommend coming and visiting. Do not get lost in these tunnels. There are tunnels all through these mountains. There's like an outpost on the top, and there's tunnels that go straight down. There's all sorts of tunnels in there.